Hi, I'm Marsha Lehman, and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener. Today, we're pruning a kaleidoscope Abelia. Now, this is a cane shrub. Rule number 1 is never take hedge trimmers to a cane shrub. However, this shrub not only has been moved, but had also been sheared. So it's got a few issues, not the least of which is the -4 degrees we had in January 2024, which is probably the cause of this tip burn that we see at the top. But being a cane shrub, the general rule is you always come in each year and take out a few of the oldest, thickest, brownest canes. The fact that that was never done means that this is really too thick. And in a moment, we're going to bring the camera in and show you just how thick this is. But the general rule of thumb on a kaleidoscope Abelia is you buy a new plant, you put it in a sunny spot because it prefers sun to shade. And then in year 3, you start to take out some of the oldest, thickest canes. So we have some catch-up to do on this shrub, and I suspect that is the case for lots of homeowners, that they have been tempted to just come in and shear it to shape it rather than actually to thin it and take out some canes. So rule number 1, don't do that. Put your hedge trimmers away. If you're doing this routinely, all you're going to need are your sanitized pruners. And since that has never been done to this shrub, I may actually also need the loppers for 1, maybe 2 cuts. Now, when you're taking out, you wouldn't take out more than 1/3 of the canes, but that means that over the course of 3 years, you've kind of rejuvenated the plant. Quick note on rejuvenation. If your kaleidoscope Abelia is so far gone that you decide not to do a regular pruning and you want to renovate it, then you basically cut it back at ground level, which means you'll get no flowers this year, and basically start all over again. And then you get into the year 3, you start to remove about 1/3 of the canes and keep it nice and airy and let the sunlight get in, and you'll have a really beautiful, healthy shrub. So let's bring the camera in and we'll show you just how thick this is. This is how thick this is. Now, one of the things you can notice is here in the center, there is absolutely no leaves on this stem. It's really woody looking, and I may need to make a second cut, but let me pull this up and show you. You can see how woody it appears. The wood looks somewhat striped, and then this growth at the top was the result of having been sheared in the past. And there's easily a half a dozen or more stems that look just like this. And so those are going to be the first thing I take out because there's no vegetation on them. It's really old, striped wood. It's a different color than the other stems. And so I'm gonna, again, it's a cane shrub. You can manhandle it a bit. And if you break something, well, then you just prune that too. But, so there's one, but here's a second, 2, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, that's 7, yeah, some 8. So I see at least 7 or 8 here that I'm going to take out. So we'll back the camera up. You know that I'm going to take those out, what those look like, and then we'll resume working on the plant. And at the moment, I'm going to take them off as low as I can, and as I can get down into the base, I may cut those a little lower. But right now I can't get all the way to the base. And as I say, this shrub was moved about 2.5 years ago, and it was several years old at the time it was moved. So I doubt that it's ever had the proper pruning. So we're playing a little bit of catch up here without doing a full renovation. Where's that other woody one? Over here. Right now, this is a bit of a tangled mess. And I can't get real low on that one. So I'll take it where I can and then get in there a little further in a moment. Likewise with that one, I'll have to make another cut. But all of those that I just took out have this really woody stem, this clump of growth at the top, and it's all quite brittle. So, okay, let's back up the camera and I'll go to work pulling this apart. We removed the rest of those dead stem things. And again, being a cane shrub, you can manhandle it. Now, this one looks like it's been manhandled, but as it comes out of dormancy, it'll spring back. So having gotten rid of those really stiff, straight canes, I still have a couple to take off a little lower. That's what we were manhandling for. But now I'm coming around looking for where are some of the biggest, oldest, fattest canes. And there's one over here on the side that I'm taking off at ground level. Or at least I think I am. There we go. And this is classic cane. But this was an older, if we can zoom in on this, I'll put my hand behind it here. You can see there's a scar on that stem. It's pretty woody, and then it came up. So in a regular pruning, we would be coming in to remove 3, 4 of these to thin it out. And we wouldn't have had to do that first step. So as I come around, I think there's probably another 1 or 2 of those. The question is how to get my lopper in there. And it's impossible to show you, but trust me, what I'm looking for are a couple of other really old, thick canes that have this much growth on them. We have found another cane that we want to take off. It's a real low one, a real fat one that grows out. But there's another one on top of it that I'm actually going to have to take off first just to get access to the next one. So let me get this first one. And then this is going to have a whole bunch of growth on it too. Let me cut that a second time just to get a piece out of there and gain access to the second one I want to get, which is right next to it but was actually below it. And between those two, we are going to take out a pretty sizable chunk of this shrub. So let's back up the camera as we pull these pieces out, and we'll show you how much we have removed, because it's going to be quite a bit. With 2 snips, the hardest part is disentangling it, and it's only this tangled, it's going to come out in pieces. It's only this tangled because of the way it has been pruned in the past. So this is part of it. I guess I'll make a couple more cuts. Oh, there we go. So that actually had some green on it, but that's only part of it because I've had to take it out in pieces. Here's another part here in the front, and these two are all tangled together, so let me make a couple more cuts to disentangle. There's another piece. There we go. Notice I am wearing my eye protection today. This is when you get poked. Okay, that's part of that. Here is the really big one. And even this is just a part of it. So the stem, it was big and fat, at least a ½ inch in diameter, and then had all this growth coming off of it. So one snip and it would take off that much. That's why if you get into a routine schedule, you really only have to take out 3 canes every year. And that is, once I got rid of those first, 8 upright old canes. I then took out 3 old canes around at the bottom, and this shrub doesn't look anything like it did before we started. But it should respond well to this pruning. Now, in the process of pulling this out, I have done a little bit of damage, so I've got some cleanup to do here. But it should respond well. There's another pretty sizable one, not as big, but we're going to keep that because otherwise we'd have no shape left of this shrub. So I guess the message here is, if you're going to grow kaleidoscope Abelia, get on a regular, starting in year 3, a regular pruning schedule where you come in and you take out 3 old canes each year, cut them as low as possible. If you're doing it annually, they'll be a little easier to pull apart than what we just experienced here. And right now, this looks pretty thin and sparse, but that's because before it was really too thick. So when it was as thick as it was before, there's no way it would get sunshine and airflow. So this, while it may not be as pretty and full as it was before, it should be a much healthier plant this summer as it starts to put out its flowers. And as it starts to leaf out in the spring, we may find that it needs a little touch-up pruning, particularly on these tips that had some winter kill. You could clean those up now, but as it starts to put on more leaves for the spring, they will become really, really obvious and much easier to take care of. And that can just be, you know, you're walking around one morning with a cup of coffee in your one hand and your pruners in your other hand, and you just snip off those dead tips. Okay, so there's our Abelia. Looks quite different from what we started, and as I say, it should respond well to that pruning. But aside from those upright, really woody canes that were all dead on top, we took out a grand total of 3 stems and had this much debris. So get on a regular annual pruning routine and you'll keep it looking healthy, and you'll never have to do what we just did here. But again, being a cane shrub, it can take the manhandling. It will recover. It will send up new canes each year, which is why every year you take out a few. So as you get comfortable pruning cane shrubs, you will also get comfortable kind of manhandling them. And so again, I hope you learned something today, and we thank you for joining us.